Hola, ¿cómo están? Buenas tardes. Les damos la más cordial bienvenida una vez más a otro conversatorio de danza oriental. Nos acompaña esta tarde María Isabel Ángel de Colombia. Hola María.
Hola, ¿cómo estamos?
Y hoy tenemos el privilegio de contar con la presencia de Khadija. Hi Khadija, how are you?
Hola, ¿cómo estás? I am good. Thank you
Y
so
bueno,
much.
thank you for being here. Vamos a tener una charla acerca de las danzas de Saudi Arabia, de las danzas del Golfo Pérsico y bueno, pues vamos a comenzar. So Khadija, please tell us where are you from, where do you born, and how was all your childbirth?
Okay. I am originally from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Jeddah is the west area of Saudi Arabia. My mother and my father is engineer. He is working for Saudi Aramco, so he's in the oil business. And so wow, I was born and raised there. And when we leave, my family, my mom, my brother, and my sister, we all left and we came to live in Florida for a little while. And so from Florida, I live here now. So my father, he's still living back home because of his work, but that's kind of my life there in a little nutshell, basically. So
So, when did you move to the States? How old were you?
wow, I was really young. I was early teenagers, early teen age. So I was getting into school, American school, a little late in my life. But it was nothing that was shocking for me. It was just the only difference is that, man and woman, they get to mix together here in United States versus back home women they have their part of the school and men they have their part of the school, but it was nothing like wow shocking. It was something that I had heard about, that I always knew, but I get to experience that when I come to United States. So
Exactly. So, about the culture of Saudi Arabia, because you left to the States when you were a teenager, so you could absorb and live a lot of elements of the culture of the Saudi Arabia.
absolutely.
So, how was it? What did you experience? Let's talk about the art, the dance, the music, the culture, the costumes.
Absolutely. Wow. The culture, Saudi Arabian culture, especially the area I am from. I'm from the Hijaz region. And everything is just very family oriented. It was very warm feeling. I miss the sounds. I miss the busy streets in the day, in the daytime. I miss, the smells of food. I miss my friends. It was a very warm environment. I think people have the wrong idea, especially about the Gulf in general. But speaking about Saudi Arabia, I know Saudi Arabia has been very popular in the news lately, but Saudi Arabian culture is very warm. It is very inviting. It's not anything what people think it is, especially in the Jeddah, the area. We have Jeddah old city and we have a new city. And it feels basically the same. It's just, the structures of the building is a little bit updated, but it's just such a warm, nice feeling, just home. Everybody's very nice, everybody's cousin, everybody's family. And I miss that so much. Um, but I always felt safe. I always felt I just belong. I never really felt pushed out. I never really felt, you know, what's the word that I'm looking for? Just people they treated me very differently. No, they didn't really like. They knew my family is a little different because our family we have African culture also, and I can also talk a little bit about that. But we were never treated terribly. We were never treated terribly. Um, but let me see, what else am I missing from your question? Because I can just go on and on about the warm and the
And
family.
about, for example, because what we see is that the guys are very apart for the woman.
Oh
Maybe
yes,
if the
yes.
woman have a special occasions about the dance, also about the music,
Music,
in
yes.
this kind of environment that you grew up.
Absolutely. So men and women, because of Islamic society that Saudi Arabia is based on, yes, many things are separated. So men they have their area, women they have their area. If there are celebrations happening, maybe wedding. The woman she has her celebration, the men they have their celebration, and then after the men and the women they come together and they have a big celebration together. So there is lots of separating just due to the religious beliefs, but when it comes to music and dance, everybody loves music and dance in Saudi Arabia. um, Whether people they like to admit this, if they tell you the truth, it does not matter if they are very religious. To the non-religious people, they everybody, children, young, old, people, they love the music. Everybody is just absolutely in love with the dancing. Now, granted, dancing is something that you will not see in public. That is illegal. And you won't necessarily see music in public unless maybe for Independence Day, which is in November. But you will not actively see just people playing music loudly in the streets or something, because yes, you have to be careful. You can, if you make too much attention, yes, you can get arrested. Um, but it's not. At home, you want to have some tea, you want to have some time with your friends. Everybody, the neighbors, your friends, they're going to come, everybody get together, they'll have, some food, and everybody will just dance. Um, but it's dancing and music is something that is not actively advertised or spoken loudly about, but in celebrations, the weddings, special occasions, you will find dancing and you will find music, and everybody enjoy this way. But you have to be careful. You have to be
Yeah,
very
so
careful.
for example, it's not like in the Emirates, exactly, specifically like in Dubai, that you can see a lot of belly dance or or Oriental dance in
You're right.
nightclubs. This is something that it doesn't happen in Saudi Arabia.
You will never see this in Saudi Arabia. You will never see belly dancers. Everybody, they love the belly dancing. They love so much. Maybe they see like an Egyptian TV, Lebanese TV. Maybe they see on YouTube, but you will never go to a local hotel and see belly dancers or restaurants. This is something that is not permitted in the kingdom. So you will never
And
see this.
and the dance is just dance like Raqs al Nashat, like these Khaliji dances, or maybe, for
No.
example, your family used to do a little bit of Oriental dance also, or it was just the dances of the Khalij.
So that's one thing that I really try to talk about, like in my teaching, is because Khaliji is not only a word to describe the Gulf in general, but you can say, okay, this rug is Khaliji, this food is Khaliji, that man, that woman, that child is from the Khalij. Um, and you can say this dancing is Khaliji. So Khaliji, when we're speaking in terms of music and dancing, this folklore with many more folklore. And when we look at Khaliji, we think, okay, we can dance with the nishal and the hair. We have many more dances than just this one. This is the most common one that make more popular for women, but we have very wow. I mean, so many more styles, so many more music kinds from city to city, region to region. Because I say Saudi Arabia, we have at least the kingdom is very big. The state we called our state, Saudi Arabia, is very big. So it's divided in many areas. I think 4 to 5 areas, depending geographically, who you get your information from. I divide them into 5 areas. Um, just by the bordering countries and just by where they are geographically. And every single region is different. Every single region has their own style. This one with the hair and the thob nashal, every Gulf country they do this way. They do this one. But specifically in like my area, we have our own style. We have our own music. Sometimes the women they use the hair, sometimes they do not.
Mhm.
So,
And Oriental dance is part of the family celebrations or not at all? Like Oriental dance
No,
is not common.
sometimes they're gonna put music and from everywhere. Like sometimes they'll play like Persian music. Sometimes they'll play Iraqi music. So they love Egyptian music and they love like Lebanese music, but it is not actively seen. Maybe if you make small party or something, you make small celebration, yes, okay, maybe somebody can do a style of Raksa Sharki, but you will not be able to see this as public. So everybody loves this so much.
and how do you start dancing? How do you learn this dance? I mean, maybe from your grandma or your mother, or how has this information
Sure.
comes to you?
Khaliji specifically, I basically learned from, of course, family, friends, lots of events, lots of like watching lots of people. I come from a musical family. Um, and my father, he loves to play the saxophone. My mom, she loved the drums. I have aunts that are singers. And so just being little, I would witness these styles of dancing, but it wasn't until I got older that I was able to actually take class and find out what are we really doing. Because one thing about children, being a child in the Khalij, you can get away with so much, especially in the dancing. And being a child, and that's why I always tell dancers, like if you see video of Khaliji children dancing, please learn from them, because as adults, adult women, you don't really catch us dancing. But children are so free to just dance and just do things. And so we watch a lot, a lot, a lot. So, it's just kind of a combination between going to events and watching people, the way they're dancing from city to city. We could go to a wedding in the next town. They could be dancing to a completely different way than we are used to. But since you're a child, you love to dance, your family will make you dance. But when you get to a certain age, it's like, no, you sit back, you are proper, you can let that woman over there dance, or that woman, but this woman, as family, people know us, people know our family name. No, let's not bring attention to us. It's kind of one of those things that I like to call a double-edged sword. It's like everybody knows you love the dancing. Everybody knows you can dance, but that doesn't mean you should dance, because you don't want to bring shame for the family. You don't want to bring this type of attention to yourself as an adult. But overall, my learning is from observing this from family and from friends and from other women from parties that I have been guest invited to. And as an adult, I was able to take classes and refine technique a lot better. as an adult. But this is hard
Wow.
to find. Hmm?
And how did you start dancing as a professional dancer? And how did you decide to start with this in a career, not only because it's part of your heritage, part of your country? And how do you start dancing in a professional way?
You know, it's interesting because it was by mistake. Like, I didn't expect to be professional anything. I was just looking for something for exercise. I was looking for something for movement, for to take for, my exercise program. I've always been active since a little girl. My father was into American boxing and he was into jujitsu. And so when we were kids, we would do, martial arts and Muay Thai and things from from most of the Asian style arts and Brazilian jujitsu arts. But, with dancing, I always knew that I love to dance, but I didn't expect. I just was said, okay. I told myself, okay, one day when I get to be adult, I make my own money. I do my make my own way. I'm gonna be able to maybe find some classes that I could be able to get back and do this because before movies became illegal in on TV in public in Saudi Arabia, I used to love watching the old Egyptian movies. I used to love watching the old Lebanese movies and watching the belly dancers and watching the dancers or just folkloric dancers on TV. There was a point in time that this was able to happen, but now since but the kingdom is very religious, so they take away these programs. And I always kept in my mind, I say, I'm gonna do this when I am adult and I am able to. So it just was basically as something I was taking for exercise. I was just looking for classes to just do movement, learn better technique, just learn and just be moving and healthy and something outside of like the martial arts that my dad always wanted us, my sister, my brothers, all of us to do. And I'm like, I don't, maybe I'll do this also, but I just want to move. I just want to do for exercise. And so I was invited to dance at a show by a very well-known dancer here in the community. And she says, Khadija, you're from Saudi Arabia, so do you ever do like the Khaliji dance? I was like, yeah, but nobody, they don't want to see this. Like, who wants to see this all the time? I was just thinking, who wants to see this, with the nishal and your, the cloth and your hair? I said, who? No, nobody appreciate or maybe know about this. And then she goes, I think we should do something together. And this was for maybe like a big outdoor festival that they have here in Denver. And I think it was like a food festival. They invite dancers from different cultures, they invite dancers from different arts. And the dancer that invited me, she is traditionally a Turkish style dancer. So I was very surprised she asking me this one because I didn't think that anybody knew or care about Khaliji dances because it's nobody has really no knowledge about this. And I was very surprised and I said, okay, maybe we can do something. And we did a performance and people were amazed. They say, oh my god, I've never seen anything like this. And I'm like, of course, because you don't see this even in the region, you don't see this openly. um, you don't. And so I was very surprised how many people they like it. And like I said, I feel like I've just been lifelong learner of a lot of folkloric dance in general, not just like the belly dance, but just other genres within belly dancing. But outside of the Raksa Sharki world, just coming back to my own dances and from my own culture and heritage, I said, nobody, they want to see this. No, psh, no, 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 no. And I was just very shocked at how much people really appreciated the dance. So, people, they started asking about me. They started asking about the history, the culture, where does it come from? what is this? What does that mean? And so next thing people ask to see more from this style. And I said, okay, no problem, and people, they wanted to learn more about the dancing. And I said, okay, we can learn. I can teach you. That's no problem. And it just became very, very popular at that point. And I'm like, well, I didn't want to be known for, Khaliji. I wanted to be Raksa Sharki dancer, Khadija, but things took a very different route. And I'm very happy that it did, because, it really helped me to learn more culturally about myself and where my family come from. And it also helped um, to make understanding in the world, because many people, they misunderstand Khaliji people, they misunderstand Khaliji culture. And I am happy that this was opportunity to help from that. So, but yeah, that's where this all started, as just a hobby. I did not expect in a million years to be professional. Didn't expect. No.
María, no te escuchamos.
Okay, okay. Now you can hear me?
Oh,
Yes?
yes.
Okay, okay. So it is very nice that you were open to share the culture, the history, and your tradition to the people, that were interested. So because you were open and you were like, yes, let's enjoy together. This is nice. This is something that we could everybody could enjoy it. So
Absolutely. And traditionally, the dancing is done in a group. So if I could clone myself to like maybe 50 other women or 25 other women, traditionally, this is how it's supposed to be done. Because I am only one, I have to do what I can to show this style to the people, the dancers. But it was traditionally it's done in a group style. But I just didn't think in a million years dancers were so used just wanting to see more and see more. Because when people, because it's a lot of clothes. The Khaliji dress is very a lot of clothes. And I'm like, look at all these beautiful bedla costumes, the big stones, the shiny, the beautiful dancing girls. Who gonna look at me in all of these clothes? Like nobody's gonna, But it's completely different. People, I actually got more question and more good attention regarding the cultural context of what I was doing. And that's the part that I really loved the most, was the education behind it, because people were genuinely very appreciative and asking more. So I was very shocked and
mhm.
happy that people, they want to
Yeah.
know about this style.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so it's very interesting because for us, here in, for example, in Latin America, it's very common the name Khaliji for this specific dance of the hair. But as you mentioned before, Khaliji is an area that is huge, it's the Gulf area. So
Hmm.
what will be the proper name? Is Raksal Nashad the proper name for the dance of the hair? Can you explain a little bit of this? Because some people here, specifically in Latin America, like we know this dance as Khaliji dance, So it's good that you can just clarify this to all the people that are watching.
Okay, so I love this one when people ask me this, because and I love my Latin American people so much, and I've studied a lot of Latin American dances. And so when people say, I'm going to give a little bit of analogy here. So when people say Khaliji dance, we have to be careful, because are we talking about Samri? Are we talking about Khobeiti? Are we talking about Bara? Are we talking about Asir? Are we talking about Rayabisha? There's so many styles. So, for example, just in the Latin American world, like if you go to, music that comes from, Durango, Mexico, is completely different from from music from Honduras, or completely different from flamenco versus samba. You see what I mean? So we can't say, wow, well, those are all of the Latin American world. Why can't we just call those Latin American dances. It's the same thing for us in the Khalij because we do something different in every state. We do something different in every city. Now, specifically with the hair in the thob nashal, it is okay to call this roxel nashal. It's okay because nashal is the name of the garment. Um, and so I don't really like to refer to the garment as costume because costume is very, for me, this is a way of life. And a costume is just something you put for show, for play time, to, this is more than just that from my point of view. Um, so it's okay to say okay with the hair and the nishal raksal nishal, so it's okay to call it that because other dances in the North African and Middle Eastern world, they do hair also. Like like some shikhat dancers from Morocco, they do a lot of hair. And when we're dancing, let's say for example, I just taught a workshop about this to a student earlier. I won't say workshop; it was like an online private lesson, and we were talking about a lot of the commonalities in Egyptian song that dancers often confuse with Khaliji music is a whole, especially Ayub. Ayub is definitely a part of Zar. A lot of people may call this Zar rhythm. Um, and I have many things to say about Zar as Zar for its own way. But Ayub is one of those rhythms that the minute the drummer he play it, what does the dancer do? She starts twirling her hair, and because they think that they hear something that sounds like Khaliji, and it's not. And sometimes maybe they're trying to mimic hair tosses of the czar, but not every czar is to be determined by hair. And there's many more of Egyptian rhythms. Even Karachi rhythm is one. Of course, we talked about Ayub. Falahin. Falahin is its own separate way in its own separate style. And I think I said Karachi already. Are some of the few of the rhythms that a lot of dancers they're gonna hear in an Egyptian song, and they think, oh, this must be Khaliji. Let's twirl our hair. No. So there's a lot of miscommunication, especially with drummers, not directly from the Gulf. Many Egyptians can make this mistake also. I don't want to sound like the police, like I'm doing this because I am not. But I just want to inform dancers. In my experience, through bringing all of this information culturally to explain to dancers that there is really no such thing as a Saudi rhythm. There's no such thing as a Saudi rhythm.
It
So
is
what
called Adani
Adani,
rhythm.
yes. Adani is what we hear because a lot of these rhythms that you hear in Egyptian song can be played in 2/4, 4/4, or 6/8. There's many North African rhythms that are played in 6/8 rhythm. And so when they hear something in 6/8, or sometimes maybe even in 2/4, they what do? They start to do the hair, and it's like no, 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 no. Or they start to do things like Khaliji-esque in the music, and it's like no, 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 no. These genres they do have their own way, they do have their own style, but this is not in a Khaliji style. So one thing people have to realize that this Saudi rhythm that people thinking is Adani, and Adani is everywhere. You can go to any state in the Gulf, and they're gonna play Adani. It's so common. It's very, very common rhythm, but it's a polyrhythm, so there has to be more than one drum played on top of the original drum. And sometimes with these rhythms, they don't even have melody. They don't have the qanun. They don't have the oud. They don't have the. Sometimes people they play rebab here, or most they play rebab here traditionally, but there really isn't any melody in the music. but it's mostly filled with drums, and the high and the low and the pitches of the song never really changes. But when they hear this rhythm, they always think, oh, this is a Saudi rhythm. There is no such thing. There is no such thing. So there are many other Khaliji rhythms within this rhythm. And every country in the Gulf, or every state in the Gulf, I should say, have their variations of Adani. Adani technically is a Yemeni rhythm. It's originally from Yemen. So many other, because Saudi Arabia and Yemen borders together. So of course there would be some overlap in culture, in the cultural context of the music. So this is something that I really try to advise dancers to be very careful of, especially if you want to do drum solo, you want to add something different in your maybe in your restaurant show. Maybe you have a family that is getting married and they're from the Gulf or something, and you want to do something for them. Just be very careful with the choices of rhythm that you choose, because not everything that may sound like Khaliji that's in 2/4, 4/4, or 6/8 is Khaliji. So you have to be careful.
So talking about the costume, how many different costume can we find for this, especially the Raqs al Nashal? Do
Wow.
you? It's I mean, we can use the Nashal, but down we have maybe we can use a kaftan, or sometimes we can see girls using some leggings. What do you think about this?
Okay, so traditionally, a nashal is worn often in maybe two to three parts of her garment. So the old style is the style you see with the big arm, the long arms and the V-neck here. I can always tell where a nashal is from based on how it's made. I always tell dancers also, please, first and foremost, do not use this for cover up for belly dancing. Do not take this off and put it in your ground, on your floor, after you have done your Khaliji dancing, and you take it off and you throw it on the floor. Please don't do this, because this garment, this outfit is very representative of many things. Um, this garment not only represents a beautiful garment that women wear. There's a reason why the design is like this, down the middle, around the arms, around the neck. Women used to sew their most prized possessions onto this garment. So if someone from maybe another area, they're coming to try to make war, or trying to make a fight, or they're trying to take over from their home, or trying to take over from their land, women, they have to be able to pick up as fast as they can and then leave to go somewhere else to be safe. So there are garments still in various libraries all over the world that will show like the dirt and like fire stains from holes, and like gold and silver and all types of jewels all over the garment. And sometimes those garments are extremely heavy. And so they represent more than just looking beautiful. They're more than just representative for a garment for women to wear, or even for the dance, because there's a whole lot of cultural context behind it that we may not be able to relate with directly. But I just asking the dancers to please respect the garment and do not treat it like it's just some cover up, because you wouldn't do that with your Saidi costume. You wouldn't do that with your Beledi dress. You wouldn't do that with your Falahin dress or your Nubian dress. So why you do that with Khaliji dress? You know? So Khaliji dress is its own thing. Khaliji dress is its own garment. So I advise dancers, if they're gonna do Khaliji, maybe in their set for their restaurant, for the wedding, please take time to go backstage, take off, make nice, put away, and come back with a nice entrance. But don't take off, throw on the ground, take it, and then just throw. Please do not do this one, because it's very disrespectful for us. And, some women, they don't even get to dance, and we do. So we have to please respect it. But to answer your question, Stephanie, there's many styles. But the one with the long arms is the most common that you see, the nishal. The newest style that is more popular for young women, um, and middle-aged women is like the farasha style. Farasha just really means butterfly in Arabic. So you'll see that they're tapered around the wrist, more tight around, and it's kind of like loose but not big, long, and you'll see that they are very like long dress and very like sometimes they're up to the neck, but they're all the way at the top of the wrist. Underneath, originally with the nishal, is you wear long sleeve. You always wear long sleeve, and it usually comes with another garment underneath. And underneath, traditionally, women they either wear skirt. For me, I like to wear tights underneath just to make sure the tights are just at the to the top of my ankle. So just to make sure you're not showing any more skin than what you're supposed to show, because we have to make sure that we are being conservative in the dance, even though we are dancing. So that's why I say there may be two to three to maybe four parts and and a traditional dress. But the farasha style will have another dress underneath, and then I advise dancers to put long skirt or long pants underneath. So because if you want to lift and you want to do things under, you want to make sure you're not showing any skin because that is considered to be disrespectful.
Mhm. Khadija, and there is a color that is not proper to use, is not like that nice to use, like I don't know, black or white, or any color is okay.
Red or green is mostly like wedding colors, red or green. Um, but it's really not terribly looked down upon if you do that. The only thing that I ask dancers not to do is to dance in hijab or niqab. Even though they may see like some villages or something in YouTube, they dancing like that. Maybe because this woman, she is elder, she's older woman, and she maybe have the respect to do that. But I just advise dancers not to dance in that way because of the religious undertone of wearing the hijab and the niqab. But you can even dance in like abaya, like the black robe abaya. You can dance in that. You can dance in a kaftan. Um, so as long as you know what you're dancing to and know how to dance to it, and your outfit, your garment will generally reflect that. But as long as you know what you are dancing to and you keep it respectful, people they're fine with, even a nice house dress is fine as long as you are just being respectful in the dancing. But
So
there's many styles.
all the colors are okay. No
I
problem
would
with the colors.
Yeah, yes, I would say so, yes. But the reds and the greens are just known as wedding colors. I personally don't wear a lot of those colors, but it's not shameful if you do. It's not shameful if you do. It's not like somebody's gonna be very angry. No, 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 no.
Okay, okay. So, for example, before, well, we read the stories about that people used to maybe have in the purse, in their purse, the woman when they went to the weddings or something like this, they had in the purse the tovenashal, or they were using the tovenashal. Is this true? This is not true. And right now, it is common that they have the tovenashal, or just they go to the wedding and they dance with the beautiful garment that they have, and that's it. Because there is a little bit of confusion about this.
Now, in Saudi Arabia, you don't want to wear clothing that brings attention to the woman. So, if she going to wedding, she will usually put a robe over, and this is not like abaya. This is not like nishal. So, this is like something for going out. So of course she has hijab and she will put a robe on top of her garment, her clothing. but it's okay. Like the nishal is known as basically like a party style of a dress. Absolutely. You can many styles are like have lots of the sequins and like lots of glittery things that most dancers like to see. Most of them are very party, are ready for party, so that's fine. But if you're gonna go out in the streets, you want to make sure that this is covered, and when you get to your party, you can take off. Um, but sometimes women, they will bring clothing with them to put on if they feel like they want to dance or they want to be more festive while they're dancing. So I've seen both of that happening, but mostly the women that are going out, they have to cover, okay, because they want to make sure that they don't bring attention, because the police can say, hey, where are you going? Where are you going? What party is this? Who's getting married? They're very nosy. They would love to question about what's happening. But some women do this. They bring extra clothes with them, and some women, they do not. So this
Okay,
is
so
this is true.
so right now, it's more popular that people they just go to the party. I mean the women they go to the party and they dance with whatever they want and that's it. Perhaps before it was more common to bring, or you are saying that is it still common to take perhaps tovena shawl and to dance with it, or
I would say that used to be a common thing. That used to be a common thing, absolutely. But now the style is changing so much. A lot of the like the farasha style or the butterfly styles have a lot of North African influence. So a lot of them even look like Moroccan kaftans, because sometimes they have the belt like the madama that's around it. That's not traditional, but it's becoming part of our culture also because the way they are designed now, like sometimes they will tie in the back, and it will bring something here, but it's very loose. You still cannot see the shape of the body, but it adds an extra element to it because it's just a new style. But yeah, there are so many new styles now that women are just like, if you want to bring the shells just for old flavor, you can, just for old like nostalgia, you can. But from what I understand, nobody, they really do that now like than what they used to do.
exactly, exactly. So when you say, when I see this dance, for example, I think this is traditional. I'm talking about Raqs al Nashat. This is traditional and this is more modern. What do you see? What do you see that this is traditional and this is modern? So we can understand and also see and understand, okay, this is the traditional movements or this is the traditional gestures, and this is not, this is modern, this is fusion, this is something from the West.
Mhm. Okay, this is a very good question because there are so many things I'm seeing in the dancing now that's like, wow, that's very new. That's very interesting. I never knew, people they dancing like that. So, I always refer back to how dancers, how Khaliji women, how they danced traditionally before, and maybe time period. I don't really like to give too many time periods because Khaliji dance, honestly, up until I would say that it's now more popularized, really didn't change until maybe like the 2000s. There's so many more influence and so many more um, people getting a hold of the culture and saying, wow, this is really cool, and they may add their little elements to it. And also, let me be very clear as well, because depending on where your lineage is from, especially in Saudi Arabia, people, they bring their lineage with them. For example, my lineage is from Kenya. So a lot of Khaliji dances are very rooted with African tradition. So when people, they see me dance, they'll say, wow, Khadijah's style is a little bit different because it's very like earthy, is very strong, because my family, we have a lot of African influence into our dance. Our music has a lot of African influence. So for me, I like to, my style specifically, I like to incorporate some of the men energy, some of the female energy. So people can have this dialogue into the performance. So they get to see both sides, because some people, they never see the women, let alone they never see the men style before either. But most importantly, I have to bring my lineage into my dancing, because that's where I come from. This is my family. This is my family roots. So a lot of people will from the region will incorporate that into their dancing style. So this is why my dancing style may be different from a different dancer that may be from the north or something of that sort. You know what I mean? Because everybody, they have their lineage and their signature style involved into their style of dance.
Exactly. I was going to ask you that if the dance, if the Raqs al Nashat dance is different from the north, because you said that it was popular among all Saudi Arabia. So I was going to ask you if it is the north and the south and the east and the west, they are different because they have a different flavor.
Absolutely. Because one thing about the North, because there's, especially among American people, they are always saying, oh, this is pearl diving music. No, it's not all pearl diving music, because not everywhere in Saudi Arabia do we mine for pearls. So there are dances from the mountains, there are dances from the central area of Saudi Arabia, there are dances that are very close to the Yemen border that overlaps with certain Yemeni dances. So not everything is pearl diving music, um, and not every style is this way. Especially from the music, I'm hearing that a lot lately. I get, this is my number one question, that dancers are like, "Oh, this is from the the men and the women, well, mostly men." Used to be pearl divers specifically, but they would always ask me, is this pearl diving music? Absolutely not, because it's the region is, there's only certain regions where there were pearl divers specifically.
Exactly. And for example, what we see in Dubai, for example, what do you think about that? This is completely modern. Do you see still elements of traditional dance in these dances of the girls that are performing in Dubai, for example? And also, if you see still traditional elements in the dance that you have seen in Latin America or in the States, or what are we keeping that is traditional and what do we have that is just something modern or fusion?
Ah, I love this question. But before I answer this question, I always like to tell dancers I am not the Khaliji police. I will never tell dancers what you can do and what you cannot do. I appreciate all movement, so I don't want to come across as the Khaliji dance police, because this is not my way. If somebody is being disrespectful, I would, of course, tell them respectfully. But I have to be very honest. I have to be very open and honest with my dancing family. That today is the style has changed to the point where it's unrecognizable. I love my Eastern European sisters, but they have ruined a lot of this essence for the dancing. The acrobats and the hair and the backward bending, and they also like to combine elements that have nothing to do with the seven Gulf states. I always tell dancers, always get to know your regions before you start doing the dancing, because people think kawalia, and I have a hard time calling kawali or kawalia Iraqi dance, because Qawli or Qawliya is indicative of the group of Romani people, not necessarily a dance. So Hecha or Radha is the style of dance of the Qawli, and there's many more. I leave that to Mohammed Nawaz and Asala Ibrahim to really coach dancers on that. But when I get dancers and they come to me and they say, "Oh, Khadija, what about this style?" And it's all Iraqi, and I'm like, "No, no, no, this is the Khaliji." So specifically talking about Dubai and Emirates have a slightly different style. I consult with Rania. She is a Polish a London Polish dancer that's living in Dubai that is actually belly dancing in the restaurants there. She does a great interpretation of dances of Emirates. However, Emirates, they do have their own signature style. I cannot say for them what is more modern, but I know traditionally out of the style of Raqs al-Nishal, that things are basically the same. Everybody will definitely will put their small twist, kind of depending on the area that they come from or the area that they represent. However, elements, some elements in the dancing, the backbends and the acrobats and this hitting stuff, we don't all do that. We don't all do that. That is not. I think maybe they see something in YouTube that maybe they saw one woman do this, and now they're thinking that everybody do this. Um, and also with the this beshkent, also this thing here, I see a lot of belly dancers will do this with the beshkent a lot. Um, Now, some Egyptian folklore that is a part of, but generally the beshkent with the snapping of the fingers is traditionally a gulf all the way through Central Asia. So we will do this a lot more than a small pocket of folklore in Egypt. So I see a lot of Egyptian style dancers, regardless where they come from. They will do this in their dancing. For me, this looks odd because this is something that we are used to doing in the Gulf. But I have discovered that in some folklore and Egyptian culture have done this style also, but it's very uncommon. Um, Also, I would say more dancers are getting very creative in the way they present their costuming. I always just recommend dancers to make sure, even if they sew their own costume, it's okay. It's all beautiful, but just make sure the costuming is just very respectful of what they're trying to represent. So sometimes like they have the sheer or the see-through, and you can see like the two-piece. This is not. I would never do this. This is not a Khaliji way. Maybe she can put something under, and then she can put her garment on top that she made. So I'm seeing a lot of that in the dancing, and some dancers have also sent me videos of dancers, mostly female dancers, dancing in hijab or dancing in something that looks like niqab and hijab. Um, Please don't, because specifically we try to keep religion and the dancing separated, because people have to remember. Not all of the Gulf is very religious, but a lot of the Gulf is based on what we call Sharia law, that it is very Islamic. And you cannot separate culture and religion and traditions. They're kind of all embedded together. So we have to be careful how we approach this. If we think that we're trying to do the right thing by dancing in this, no, this is not right because it's not religious. So we have to be careful not to dance in the religious attire, and be careful from using music that may have religious undertone as well. Because some, especially classic, like we have classic, we have tarab style music. We don't exactly call it tarab. Every Gulf state has their own type of I will use belly dancer term for this time as tarab, even though specifically in Saudi Arabia we call it something different. In Emirates they call it something different with the classics. But we have to be careful because some of this music may have religious undertone, and we have to be careful to check our music to make sure we are not disrespectful in that sense. So there's really not a whole lot of do's and don'ts. I always tell dancers, if it does not feel right for you in your dancing, do not do it. If it does not feel natural and it does not feel okay, do not do it.
And also what you say, that not everything that you see in YouTube, it should be copied. See?
Yes.
So you have to really understand the culture from where it comes,
Hmm.
and try to think, okay, this is something that they will do or no, because it could be interesting to you to do, as you say, big back bends or something crazy with the head, but you have to just stop and think, okay, this is part of their culture or maybe not, and I can do the back bends perhaps in another dance.
Exactly. And I think, dancers, we want to be, we want to be known for something. We want to be innovative. We want to be creative. But there comes a time where creativity can cross the line of the respect boundary because. I know we have a lot of fusion dancers. I absolutely love fusion, especially fusion that is done right. I love fusion. But you have to know what you're fusing before you fuse it. So if dancers they don't know, don't do it. If you are not versed in a style, you have not studied completely with someone from the culture, you have to be very careful because I've seen a lot of dancers to get burned from this. I've seen a lot of very innocent dancers that are thinking they're doing the right thing, and then wow, something happens, and then they are ridiculed for what they do. And so I'm trying to prevent this to happen today because it is very interesting to watch these things unfold.
Okay, so Khadija, I have a question. Like you were saying that the dance is not like you don't see it outside in the public. So how do you keep alive a dance that is not like everybody is doing it like openly, but just like perhaps in the sacred and private space of the home? How do you keep it alive for generations? Is something that can you study in the school when you are a kid, and perhaps the little kids that they are 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, they study, or just at home and that's it? And how do you keep this tradition alive?
Wow, that is the most amazing question anybody has ever asked me. And I love this question because how we keep our tradition alive, we keep it alive in the family. So every Khaliji girl, they know how to dance. Whether they want to dance or not, we keep this, our stories, our traditions within our family, and we will often share amongst each other. So if you have other Khaliji friends from Kuwait, if you have other Khaliji friends from, Emirates, like we can dance together, we can all get together and dance. So now that camera phones are more popular, a lot of things are being recorded. A lot of things have been recorded in the past but have now been erased. There are no schools for this. At one point in the kingdom, they tried to make like a gymnasium, but when the government they find out that there's dancing, everything was taken away. So the only way that we are able to preserve our cultural stories um, is through family, is through neighbors, through cousins, through the community of women, and together we keep this alive. And so I'm happy you asked this question because for many Afro Khaliji people like myself, many that come from African lineage, um, this is a very big deal for me. This is why I do what I do because many schools and many musicians from the Khalij they don't always mention that our African heritage is deeply embedded in everything we do in this dancing, whether it's from learning the rhythms even to the instrumentation is different, is African drums. Even there's some drums borrowed from Latin America, like congas, bongos. And so when African people were coming forced from their land to come to work in civilizations. At the time of, I don't like to refer to my ancestors as slaves, but when we were brought to work in the kingdom or wherever we may be displaced in the world, we also brought our music, our culture, and our dancing. And so this is exactly why I do what I do, because a lot of the rhythm, a lot of the dancing is heavily rooted in African traditions, 100%. And the problem is that this information has been erased. This information has been Europeanized, unfortunately. And so this is why I am here to bring these, to dig this out and say, hey, we might want to look at this a different way, because this rhythm is played by these drums, and these drums are from, people that speak Swahili or speak Oromo. And what people don't realize also, a lot of the language that a lot of the traditional music is played in is not even sung in Arabic. It's sung in other African language. That yes, this is this space. I love it because people are very shocked. They're like, "What?" Yes, absolutely. Because sometimes people, they give me old traditional music, maybe somebody recorded at a wedding from like the 50s or the 60s, and they say, "Okay, Khadija, I want you to translate this." And I'm listening, and I'm like, wow, this is language my grandparents they speak. We speak maybe this much Swahili or Oromo or Tigrinya language from some parts of Africa. Um, I cannot translate this. I'm sorry. Um, but a lot of this music in this tradition has gotten lost. And this is a very, very huge part, especially in Saudi Arabia. This is huge in Kuwait. There's a very huge African population in Kuwait, in Oman, in Bahrain, and even in Yemen. I mean, we are displaced all over the Gulf. Um, but for some reason, a lot of our tradition has gotten lost in this way. So I'm here to bring it out, to make people aware that these are the foundations, because you cannot live in a house with a weak foundation. You have to know the roots of something before you build on it. So this is very important that dancers, they research this information.
So, Khadija, did you talk about the fusion? What do you think about this modern performance fusion, the Kauliya and Khaliji? And what is the meaning of using this kind of, I don't know, maybe signs or doing these things?
You know, I have a big problem. Me specifically, maybe some other Khaliji people, they like it. But for me, I like to be culturally correct in everything I do. Khawli or Iraqi dance is Iraqi dance. Okay, Iraqi dance is so beautiful, and there's Iraqi dance is such a big term because Iraqi dance is everything. It could be Kurdish, it could be Chobi, it could be Basrawian dance, it could be Redha, it could be a Redhi or Hecha dance with the knives. So there's so many terms under Iraqi dance that Iraqi dance deserve its own category, and it deserves its own respect. But Khaliji, we have to be careful mixing these two culturally, because we have to think back, because Iraq is not a part of the Gulf. We have 7 states in the Gulf, okay? And I want to make sure dancers are very aware of geography, because if you know geography, again, you know what you're dancing to. So, of course, Saudi Arabia, also known as KSA, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Yeah, I will leave Yemen for last, actually. So Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Oman, Qatar, Emirates, um, and then I want to leave Yemen for last, because people think Emirates is like a new country, and it's not. Emirates is maybe 45, 43, maybe something like this years old. But Yemen did not get added to the Gulf countries until 2008, 2009. So Yemen is a part of the Gulf. A lot of people don't consider Yemen to be a part of the Gulf, but it is. So when we introduce Iraq into Gulf style dances, even though the south of Iraq in Basra have very similarities, very, very common similarities in music to the Khalij, right along with Central Asia, like Iranian dances like Bandari, and like some of the south of Persian dancing is very common. They all have this same rhythm, but the Persian Gulf and the Iraqi south of Iraq is not part of the Gulf state, but they all deserve their respected separation of the dancing. And so when we are fusing this, we have to be careful. We have to think about cultural context. And I don't like to bring negative things into the dancing, but there was one part where Kuwait and Iraq was at a war. You know what I mean? They did not get along. There's still some tension between Kuwaiti people and some Iraqi people regarding what happened. I would say 80s or 70s when these kind of things occurred. So we have to be careful. Not only are we dancing this dance, but we're also adding a cultural element to this dance. I don't care what any dancer says, you cannot separate a culture from its dancing because this is how we keep our traditions. This is how we keep our stories. This is how we keep these things going, as Maria asked earlier. This is how we keep our traditions going. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with fusion, but make sure you know what you're fusing and make sure that we are calling appropriate terminology because Khawli and Khaliji is very, very slippery. I could not imagine for myself as professional dancer even thinking about fusing these two because of the cultural context and some of the uh, cultural turmoil that it may have under the foundation of the dance. So I try never to mix those two dances and give each dance their respected way. And so I advise dancers to do that. But like I said, if dancers are adding elements into Khaliji dances as specifically, if within context and control, I love to see the innovation, but we know our dances, we know them when we see them, so we try to keep them as purely danced as possible. We try to keep them intact as much as possible. So
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah, so
I'm
Estefa, you or me?
The last question was
This
about the gestures. What kind of gestures can we find, and if they have some meaning or not
so
has a.
specifically where I'm from, we do not do this. And sorry, I meant to answer that earlier, but my educated guess from this here is coming from Roman culture. And so I know Roman people. I don't like to refer them as gypsies because for me, I learned from the Roman community this word is not good, and I do not encourage this word. But from the Romani people, they have been dispersed everywhere. The Roman people are in the Gulf, but they don't are not. They have their own way, but they have not dominated the dance per se. So they have their own Romani style, but it is not prominent. But they have their style. But this is my educated guess is where this is coming from because I see a lot of dancers doing this stuff, and we don't. Khaliji women, we don't do this. Especially in Saudi Arabia, we don't do this. There's other hand gestures that we do, but it's not this stuff. But if I had to take educated guess, I would say that this is coming from Roman culture.
Mhm. Yeah, because it's very popular. You see everywhere the movement, or perhaps this one, and we hear that is something related with showing the, how can I say,
The
the
bracelets.
jewelry, exactly, or something like this. So It's
Yeah,
not
it's
common,
showing
it's
from
not
the.
something that you do in Saudi Arabia. Maybe it's something modern, it's something added from other culture, as you say.
So I can think back to a time where I would say in more early golf styles, I would say that I've seen from like anywhere from like the 20s all the way maybe to the 50s. I have rarely seen some dancers do these things, but nobody really does that anymore. But my educated guess, it is from Roman culture. And if somebody has any literature out there explaining this one, because I cannot find except from Roman culture specifically. So this is my educated guess for this one. But I have not seen that in a very long time because nobody they dance traditionally this way anymore.
So, Khadija, let's talk a little bit about all these other dances that are super unknown, because Raqs al-Nashat is something that is very popular and everybody like knows a little bit of it. But these amazing dances of your country that we don't know anything about and that we should start studying a little bit. And also, we haven't talked about men, about the
Oh,
dances of men. So, can you explain a little bit so we know some concepts about this?
absolutely. So I like this question. So men basically, just like anywhere in the Arabian world, they mostly have started dancing first before the women they start dancing. So one thing about men, the style of men dance is that when men they dance, men there's a lot of misconception that men are dancing to basically initiate war or like some type of fighting. um, I have to say that this is not true because when people know where people are from, especially in the Gulf, by not only sometimes by the way they look or by the way they dressing, because every region have their style of dress, um, but also how they dancing. And so the dance is known as like an identification of who you are, where you come from, what your family name, all of these things. This is what a dance represent, especially from the men style. So a lot of I don't like to say this word tribal because the American white culture have really ruined this word for me. So I like to refer to it as ethnic groups. So we can easily be able to identify an ethnic group by the way they're dancing. So if you're coming from the north,
Se quedó congelada. Vamos a esperar un poco a que reactive la conexión. Pero bueno, chicos, estamos hablando acerca de las danzas que no conocemos de Saudi Arabia. María acaba de hacer esta pregunta.
Súper interesante todo lo que está diciendo. Cosas que, digamos que son populares, pero que no son tan reales o tan tradicionales en su país, ¿cierto? Cosas que vamos aprendiendo que son más fusión, más modernas, versus otras que son más tradicionales. Muy interesante lo que ella dice. Hemos hablado de todo, desde vestuarios, regiones, de todo.
okay. Sorry about that. I think maybe something happened from the connection. Let me just double check and make sure everything. Okay,
But
sorry
right now,
about that.
everything is perfect. Right now, everything is perfect.
Okay, good. Okay, I was just trying to make sure that. Okay, so so when we're talking about identification of ethnic group of people, so that's how we can tell is how people are dancing. And it's not sometimes you see the men they're dancing with rifle like the guns or the asaya, not in the Saidi or the Egyptian or even the Lebanese sense. We have our own style of asaya. And sometimes you see the knife on the vest, the jambia, and sometimes you can see that used in bara style of dance. So it's not it's not always meant to be to excite for war or to be as something for fighting. It's not always this way, but it's more identification. Is to show people my family way. This is how we dance. This is where we come from. Nice to meet you. So that is a way to be able to identify who they are through their dancing style. Now, I mean, our national dance is Ardha. Women, we don't do this way. And of course, it's something completely different if you go to Emirates and Kuwait and Oman, Qatar, so on and so forth. But this is our national dance. Women, we try to imitate this one, but it's not as fun. It ends up being kind of a joke if women do this style. But that's basically how you are identified generally by the way you're dancing and the style of dance that you are doing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So all these unknown dances, for example, what can we search, Khadija? Which names can we search of the dances of the women or the men that we can start researching?
Wow, some of my favorites are Saut. I can spell it here in the chat box. Saut. Saut is a very awesome dance, and this is has very heavy African influences in this style. Saut is one of my favorite. Khobaiti is one of my favorite as well. Samri is getting a popular name. I would encourage dancers to really get involved in the Samri style because Samri is not always Kuwaiti style Samri. Saudi Arabia we have our own style of Samri, and there was a point in time, like I said, all of these dances, women didn't dance these dances at all. And so women just kind of got involved and will dance. Some of these dances, men and women will do together, which together in a sense of men, maybe they dancing in a circle or half circle, and women will dance on the outside, far away from the men in their own circle, but following together in the same pattern. So when they say women and men are dancing together. So those are the top three that I would give to dancers to do some research on that because those are all different. And I would recommend studying and researching Samri outside of Saudi Arabia. So maybe they can study or research about Kuwaiti Samri or Saudi Samri. I know Emirates have their own style as well. So I encourage dancers to really research those, of course. And those are
Super, super
very, very,
interesting because
very, very
our
fun
dances,
dances.
exactly, and our dances that are not that well known, you know. Sambri is
Yeah.
something that yes, we are more used to that, but the other dances are something
Yeah.
like, at least here in Latin America, they are not well known, not as far as I know.
No, they are not. They are not well known at all, and
La perdimos una vez más. Vamos a esperar un segundo a que se reactive. Ya estábamos llegando al final de esta charla. Estaba comentándonos acerca de las danzas que no son tan conocidas. Khadija, you're back.
yes,
Okay.
wow, sorry, I didn't realize that we were having a problem. I apologize. But a lot of these dances were originally from men, but women have learned to mimic them. Like the national dances, like Ardha is definitely a men's dance, is a men's dance, is a men's dance. Women, they maybe enjoy watching and they'll try to mimic, but a woman would never do this in public. If somebody asked me to display this, I would never do this in public. because this is a very masculine men style. There are some, we like in Egyptian culture, there are some women that mimic the men style, but I do not want to disrespect, and I don't want to make fun because this is our national dance, and I want to keep everything respectful. But a lot of these dances, men and women can do together. Absolutely.
And finally, Khadija, can you give us some advice, some recommendation for all the dancers, for all the girls who are starting studying Khaliji dances, especially Raqs al-Nashab?
Absolutely. Well, first, I just want to say thank you for having me to give advice and to listen to my stories. It really means so much to me because I love the Latin American world, and many of you, I'm fans of many of you and your music and your style of your countries where you come from. And I feel so proud and honored right now to be a part of this. And thank you, Maria and Stephanie, for the conversation today. Um, and my best advice is to study as much as you can. Um, YouTube is a nice resource, but you have to be careful. It's okay to ask questions to native people. We love when you ask us questions. We love if you email us, if you say something to us in Facebook, like, oh, can you tell me about this video? Can you tell me about this music? Can you tell me about what she's wearing? We love these questions because when people they come to us and they want to learn about our culture, Khaliji people, we love this so much because we want to clear the bad thinking people may have about us. But my advice to dancers that's starting in the Gulf folklore is to talk to as many Gulf people as you can. If you don't know Gulf people, you know me now. So you can talk with me, and I can introduce you to people that are either actively living in the Gulf or have lived in the Gulf for a very, very long time. Because our rhythm and our music and our culture is complex, but we are happy to teach and learn people, let people learn about us. Just do, my biggest advice would be to do more research than dancing, because people, you have to know our way of life before you can move like us. You have to get to know why we do the things that we do, because of how we do things culturally, and because of where we live and how we live. So it's always good to get to know your cultural context first before you get to know your movement. Don't be so fast into learning your movement. You know, dancers, rapido, 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 all the time. They want movement, fast, fast, all the time. No, khalas, slow down, slow down. It's okay to talk with people to learn how people live their life. It's okay to talk to people to learn their history and to learn about, okay, so why do you move this way? Why do you move that way? And the last tip I want to tell dancers, like especially specifically with Raksal Nashal, your hair is only 20% of your dancing. So, you don't go onto stage and your drum solo, and do all these things first. We just see your entire show. You have to go easy. You have to give them something easy first. Pull back a little bit, give them something easy. So this is the same thing for Khaliji too. Don't go on stage doing the hair all the time. Okay, thank you, bye. Okay, what about your footwork? What about your shoulders? What about your arms? What about your hands? What about your mannerisms? What about your head and neck? Okay, you can move the head and neck without having to do so much of the hair. Okay, what about your chest? Okay, what about clapping? We call this tasfiq. What about your clapping? What about your bashkent? What about all of these other elements, especially your footwork? What about your movement? So many elements to focus than just your hair. Leave this for something exciting in your song. Don't bring this out like that, because people are like, okay, I see Elena, she doing her Khaliji dance. She doing her hair for 2 minutes and the song is maybe 4 minutes. You didn't do anything. Let me see your footwork. Let me see you move. Let me see your spins and turns. Let me see you do the work with your nashal. There's so many things we can do in a Khaliji song. So many things, but take your time. Be easy. Be easy in your movement. Um, and take your time to just enjoy your moment, because I can teach you your movement all day. I can teach you how to walk and spin and turn and do the most amazing hair work. But do you feel the music? This is Khaliji is a feeling, just like most folklore is a feeling. You really need to take your music, maybe close your eyes, sit somewhere where there's no distraction, no husband, no children, no wife, no dog, no cats. You just sit with yourself, you close your eyes, you listen to your music, you feel something good. Take this feeling and keep going with it. Put this in your dancing, because I can teach you all day, but if your feeling is not there, there's nothing else I can teach you. You don't even have to understand Arabic, like the Khaliji dialect, because our dialect is very different from standard Arabic. We speak very different. And even if you don't understand the words, try to get to know the words because it's very important. But try to feel what the music is telling you, and try to feel this, because we like to do movement without feeling. We like to do movement without cultural context. We like to do this. No, no, no. Take your time, learn cultural context. Take your time, learn your feeling, and then you put it to your movement and your music, and this is what's going to make your dance. This is all you need.
Wow, it's not an easy tip. It's very difficult. I mean, it's very interesting. We have to study a lot of things, and as you said, we have to study first of all the culture, first of all the music, the rhythms, and after we can dance. And yeah, the Khalid is more than
More,
a
it's
hair
more
move.
than that. And like I said, there's a lot of dancers out there with beautiful hair and beautiful movements. But every day, I mean, even for me being native, I still have to study. I still study every day. I'm learning something about myself, where I come from, and also I'm studying about Gulf dances outside of my Saudi Arabia right now also. So because I want to know for myself if I have similarities, and I do, from other neighbors from my Gulf countries also. So every day I study. Every day, if I watch maybe a movie from Emirates, or I listen to a new song, or maybe I'm watching the news from Emirates. Like every day, you want to insert yourself in something, in some part of it. You don't have to sit down and study with pen, paper, and write everything. You don't have to. Sometimes you just listen, just take in. You don't have to write every little thing. Sometimes you can just find a piece of music. How does it make you feel? Maybe you can find someone that speaks that dialect of Arabic and say, hey, can you help me with this song? We are happy to do these things. We are happy. So just take something every day and try to insert yourself in that, whether if it's the movement, or you're learning some Khaliji words, or you're learning a new footwork in Khaliji. You're trying to mimic what you may see the woman dancing in a movie, or dancing in a video, or something. Every day try to do something that gets you close to your goal, your studies every day. Just small. You don't have to be big every single day. Something small every day.
Fantastic, fantastic tips about culture, about keep studying, about respect the culture, respect the tradition, about innovation and creativity also. So, Khadija, this has been a pleasure. You know, we have been learning a lot, and you inspire us also. You know, to keep dancing, to keep researching, to respect. You know, and it's also very nice that you are very open with the information. You know,
Of course.
so for us, it's like we have to study, we have to study. So it's very good that you are sharing, because in this way you are protecting your tradition. You know, you are allowing the tradition to just continue generations and generations.
Exactly. And I recently did an interview with Iana Komenishka. She's from originally from, I think, Ukraine, but she lives in Canada. And the same thing that I mentioned in her podcast is that, you know, to be honest, as we said early in the interview, I didn't expect to be professional. And as I got to know more about myself and my family culturally, I don't dance because I want to, I dance because I have to. And there's a difference because I have a responsibility. Every dancer that's dancing, regardless if it's in their culture or outside of our culture, we have responsibility. We have responsibility to uphold and learn more about this dance. And because dance and music, even though we don't speak the language sometimes, this is the only way we can bridge the gap. And not only can we bridge the gap between the similarities in our culture, but what's happening in today's world, we have more similarities than we think. And so we may not be able to speak directly in Arabic or whatever dialect that we may speak, but we can dance with each other and show each other that we have these similarities. And the more that we know from these folklores and getting to know the roots of the dancing, the more that we can show how we have these similarities, and similarities are what bring people together, especially in today's divided world, especially in the belly dance community. So we have to keep these things going. And for me, this is something very special for me because I have to keep the traditions going that has tried to die out, and I have to keep going. So I always say I dance because I have to, and it's not directly because I want to. I have to.
So thank you so much, Khadija. It's very, very important for us. It has this kind of opportunity to talk with a native dancer, with a native teacher who can share a lot of things that you has sharing with us. So thank you so much. We have been talking for an hour and a half, and the time was so fast.
And there's so much to say.
we can be here by days and days and days talking about and listen you, because you have a lot of things to share, and it was very, very interesting for us. So I want to thank you so much for being here, for accepting this interview. And gracias, María, por acompañarnos, por estar aquí. And I'm ending this interview. Thank you thank you so much. And I really, really want to keep this kind of time with you, sharing. And as you said, now we know you. Now we can contact you and ask for all the questions that we have a lot of millions of questions about your dance. So thank you so much for this
no
time.
problem. Yeah, and I just wanted to say really quickly, unfortunately, I am not on Instagram, but I am in Facebook. So you can find me in Facebook. Please, you can email me. You can send me a message in Facebook. Sometimes my Facebook is very busy. And sometimes I need just a little bit of a break, but please be patient with me. I will answer your questions. And I am available for the classes if you want to do something private. Please contact me for any question you have, please.
Yeah, thank you so much for this.
You're so welcome.
Muy bien, so muchas gracias, chicas, a todas las que se conectaron, quienes van a ver después esta entrevista. Si tienen alguna pregunta, la pueden hacer llegar a la maestra Khadija. Tienen el Facebook. De cualquier forma, también a través de la página de María Isabel Ángel o la de nosotros, nos pueden hacer llegar las preguntas. Muchas gracias. Espero que hayan disfrutado muchísimo este conversatorio y nos vemos próximamente.